Good evening, everybody. Am I audible to everyone? Pavan Kumar, good evening. Anand, good evening. Yes. Good evening, everybody. Ramya, good evening. Pavan, good evening. Yes, happy Teachers Day. Thank you. Thank you all. Yes, good evening, everybody. What we discussed yesterday? Yes, Sweta, good evening. Lokesh, good evening. Santosh, good evening. Anjali, good evening. Pujita, yes, good evening, everybody. What we discussed yesterday? Yes, good evening, everybody. What we discussed? Yesterday I was discussing with you about different types of loops. What is the use of looping statement? What we saw yesterday? Yes, thank you. Happy Teachers Day. What we discussed yesterday, what are all the different types of loops present in Java language? What is the use of looping concept? What is the use of loops? What are all the different types of loops present in Java? What do you mean by loops and what are all the different types of loops present in Java? Yes, so I was discussing with you about different types of loops. Basically, we have three different types of loops present in Java. The first one is the for loop. The second one is the while loop. And the third one is the do while loop. And then I was discussing with you about different types of decision making statements. What do you mean by a decision making statement? And then I was discussing with you about different types of decision making statement. Simple if statement, if else structure and nested if structure. Alright, yes, and I want to repeat a set of statements for a set number of times, I can go for a looping statement. And then I was discussing with you about different types of if statement. What is the use of if statement? And then I was discussing with you about different types of if statements. Today I am going to continue. So till this part, whatever I am discussing, everything is clear. So what are all the different types of statements? And then I was discussing with you about comments and different components and additions of Java. In today's class, I am going to start with switch statement. This is one more important statement present in Java language. What is the use of switch statement? So based on some condition, similar to if else structure, based on some condition, any of the cases will be executed. So instead of a single else block, yesterday I was discussing with you about decision making statement. What is the use of decision making statement? So instead of a single else block, so if I want to have multiple else block for a single if statement, then I can go for a switch statement. Clear? So based on my scenario, so all these are the different types of conditions or decision making. Based on my scenario, I can go for different types of decision making statements. What is the use of this switch statement? For example, switch of choice. First I am just initializing the choice variable, so you can just imagine. For example, in a supermarket I have different departments. To whichever case value it matches, it goes to the corresponding department and I want to perform some operation. In such cases, I can go for a switch statement. Similarly, in a banking transaction, so based on some condition, I want to have multiple else block. To whichever case value it matches, it goes to the corresponding case block and it performs the corresponding operation. Clear? So that is the main use of this switch statement. What is the main difference between an if-else structure and a switch statement? So in case of if statements, yesterday I was discussing with you about decision making statements. What are all the different types of decision making statement? I can go for a simple if statement, or I can go for a if-else structure. If the condition is satisfied, the block following the if statement will be executed. Otherwise, the else block will be executed. And what is the main difference between the if statement, condition making and switch statement? In case of this switch statement, so based on the choice value, to whichever case value it matches, it goes to the corresponding case block and it performs some operation. And a break statement is used at the end of each case to exit from that block. So whenever that case block is executed, the break statement is used to exit from that block. And default block is executed when the condition does not match any of the cases. Clear? So this is a simple example of a switch and a case statement. Say for example, I am having, why we have to go for this kind of switch and case statement? You can just imagine. So in case of condition making statement, yesterday I was discussing with you about decision making statement. For example, I am having a if statement. This is how my if statement looks like. So if some condition is satisfied, so the corresponding if block will be executed. Otherwise, the else block will be executed. And similarly, what is the use of switch and case statements? Instead of a single else block, if we want to have multiple else blocks, so I can go for this kind of switch and case statement. For example, I am having in a supermarket, so I have a grocery section, I can go for a cosmetic section, or I can go for some electronic goods. In a bigger supermarket, so I have some different departments. What is the use of this kind of switch and case statements? For example, I am just initializing. So switch of choice. So for example, choice equal to 1, the corresponding case block. So for example, I want to perform some operation in a specific department. So I want to check for some condition. What is the total purchase amount of the customer? So based on the switch, that is choice, whichever choice value it matches, it goes to the corresponding case block and it is going to perform some sort of operation. When none of the case value matches, so based on the choice value, it goes to the corresponding case blocks. When none of the case values matches, so by default, a default block will be executed when the condition does not match any of the cases. Clear with this? So I will just show you a practical example of this switch statement. What is the use of this switch statement? So whenever I want to create any new class, so I have just created a project, whatever is the name of the project. And inside this, I have just created a package. Whenever I want to create any new Java class, just right click this package and there is an option called new option. I am going to create a new Java class. Alright. Say for example, I am just giving the name as example switch. And this class is located inside this project, Java application 9. And I need to provide the entire path where this class is located. After providing all these details, I am just clicking the finish button. Say for example, so I am just going for this switch statement. So let me just show you a simple implementation example of this switch statement, how it works. Alright. So just give the corresponding class name. Say for example, public class. I am giving example SW. This is the name of the class. So I am coming inside. So inside my switch block, after typing my code, just click the save button. Whenever I want to create any new class, I have to use the class keyword followed by the name of the class. And it is prepended by the corresponding access modifier. I can go for a public access modifier. I can go for a protected access modifier. So I can go for different types of access modifiers. And inside this, I am just creating a main method. Public static void main. The argument is passed as a string array. String of space args. And then I am initializing a choice variable in choice equal to 1. And this choice is given as a parameter to this switch statement, switch of choice. So case 1, the first block, to whichever case value it matches, it goes to the corresponding case block. So case 1, so I am just printing the number is 1. If the choice value, based on the choice value. In case of a simple if-else structure, the if block will be having a single else block. Instead of a single else block, if I want to have multiple else blocks, so you can see, so based on the choice value, so it can have multiple conditions. Multiple else blocks will be whichever case value it matches, it goes to the corresponding case block and it is going to perform some sort of operations. So if it matches case 2, it goes to case 2 and it is going to perform some sort of operation. And whenever I want to exit from the corresponding case block, so a break statement will be executed. When none of the case values matches, when none of the case blocks matches, by default the default block will be executed. Clear? So whenever I want to use any default keyword, so I need to mention here as default. Just right click this file and there is an option called run file option. So firstly I am just initializing choice equal to 1. It goes to case 1 and it is going to print the number is 1. Say for example, similarly if I am giving the choice as 3. So based on the choice value, switch of choice, this is given as a parameter to my switch statement. Based on the choice value, to whichever case blocks it matches. For example, whenever it goes to case 3. So I am just printing here, the number is 3. This will be printed at the output. Clear with this? This is a simple example of a switch statement. So based on my requirement, I can go for different, first I need to look at the design. So what type of project I am developing. Accordingly, I can go for a simple if block, or if I want, I can go for a if-else structure, or I can go for a nested if statement. There is one more type of operator. It is called as a ternary operator. So there are different types of checking for some condition, making some decisions. I can go for a simple if statement, or I can go for a if-else structure. If block followed by the else block, or I can go for switch and case statements. There is one more type of operator. It is called as a ternary operator. Whenever I want to create any new class, I have to use the class keyword followed by the name of the class. It is prepended by the corresponding access modifier. I can go for private access modifier, I can go for public access modifier, or I can go for protected access modifier. It is prepended by this public access modifier. And inside this, I am creating a main method, public static void main. The argument is passed as a string array, string of space args. I am just initializing a number variable, int number equal to 5, and then I am checking for some condition. The number is greater than 5. Question mark. So within double quotes, I am just printing some message. Number is greater than 5. Colon. So else. So if this condition does not match. So instead of a if-else structure, so I can go for this question mark. This is a simple ternary operator. Question mark is called as a ternary operator. So within a single statement, if I want to check for some condition, I can go for this ternary operator. So firstly, I am checking for some condition. Number is greater than 5. So if the condition is satisfied, so the first statement will be executed. Number is greater than 5. Otherwise, number is less than 5. This will be executed. Clear with this? So this is an example of ternary operator. So whenever within a statement, if I want to check if the age of a customer is greater than this, so he can, some sort of products will be displayed. For example, for younger people, some electronic goods, some other things will be displayed. Whereas for older people, so they are going to search for some other type of products. So based within a statement, so if I want to make some simple conditions, if I want to check for some condition, I can go for this ternary operator. So all these are the different ways of making some decisions, and I am going to perform, based on the decisions, I am going to perform some operation. Let me just give you a simple example of this ternary operator. Alright. So I am just creating a new class called, whenever I want to create any new class, just right click this package. And there is an option called new option. I am going to create a new Java class. So I am just mentioning here if-else ternary example. So I have to mention the project name. Say for example, under this Java application 9, I am going to create a class called if-else ternary example. And I need to provide the entire path where this class should be created. After providing all these details, just click the finish button. I will just show you a simple example of this. Click the save button. Alright. Whenever I want to create any new class, I have to use the class keyword followed by the name of the class. It is prepended by the corresponding access modifier. So I can go for this public access modifier, private access modifier, and inside this I am just creating a main method. Public static void main. The argument is passed as a string array, string of space args. And then I am initializing this variable int number equal to 5, and I am checking for some condition. So question mark, if the number is greater than 5, it is going to print some message. Number is greater than 5. Otherwise it is similar to if and else structure. So this is the corresponding syntax for using the ternary operator. Firstly, I am checking for some condition. If this condition is satisfied, question mark, the first statement will be executed. Otherwise, colon, the else block will be executed. So just right click this file. You can see here. So since the number is equal to 5, so this message is being printed at the output. Number is less than 5. Clear? So with this, I am done with the decision making statements. So based on my requirement, I can go for a simple if statement, or I can go for a if-else structure. So yesterday I was discussing what is the use of if-else structure, and there is some more decision making. If I want, I can go for a nested if statement, that is having an if block within another if block. And if I want, I can go for a switch statement and ternary operators. Till this part, whatever I am speaking, everything is clear. Next I am going to discuss with you about arrays. This is one more important concept in Java. What do you mean by an array? An array is nothing but a homogeneous collection of data elements. Collection of similar type of elements. It is called as an array. So whenever I want to store a collection of student names, a string array can be created. Or I want to store some employee records. So an integer array can be created. Or if I want to store some customer details, customer records. So based on my requirement, different types of arrays can be created. So what do you mean by an array? It is nothing but a collection of similar type of elements, similar data type elements. From this picture you can just understand. So all these are the different elements that are present in my array. An integer array has been created. Clear? So say for example, this array contains 5 elements, 5 integer elements. So 10, 20. So whenever I want to store some employee names, you are developing some website. So why I have to go for this array? A collection kind of a thing. So whenever I want to store some employee names in a website. So I am having some 20 employees in each and every department in a corporate company. So I have a sales department, admin department, marketing department. So I want to store some employee records. So I can go for this arrays data structure present in Java. This is one simple example. Whenever I want to create any new array, I have to use the class keyword followed by the name of the array. It is prepended by the corresponding access modifier. I can go for public access modifier. I can go for protected. So I am using this public access modifier. And inside this, I am just creating a main method. Public static void main. The argument is passed as a string array. String of space args. Alright. So inside this is the corresponding syntax for creating an array. So I have to mention the data type, whether I want to store some integer elements, whole number value. So I can go for this int data type. Or if I want to store some floating point numbers, string values. So accordingly I can go for different data types. So I am just storing an integer value. So for I am giving the data type as integer, and I am using, this is the corresponding name of my array, num array of. So I am using the new keyword, new int of 5. Whenever I want to create I want to instantiate an object, so I want to instantiate an array, I have to use the new keyword followed by the corresponding data type. Within square bracket, I am mentioning the size. So I am just creating an integer array. It is of the size 5. It is going to hold some 5 elements. And I am just initializing my number array. So num array of 0 equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. So I am just initializing this number array. So after initializing this number array, I am going for a for loop. Whenever I want to go for a for loop, I have to use the for keyword, and inside this I am just initializing this I value. Int I equal to 0 semicolon, I less than num array dot length I plus plus. So I am just iterating through this number array, and I am printing each and every element at the output, number array of I. Clear with this? So this is an example of this array. So it can hold a collection of integers, whole number values. Or if I want to store some floating point values, decimal point. So based on my requirement, so whenever I am building some web application, based on my requirement, I can go for different types of arrays. Accordingly, I can just change the data type of my array. Clear? So let me just give you a simple implementation example of this. whenever you want to create any new project, just right click this package. There is an option called new option. I am going to create a new Java class. I am giving the array name as example array1. So under class name, I need to mention the corresponding class name. So I am just giving the class name as example array1, and under which project, say for example under this Java application 9, I am creating an array called example array1, and I need to provide the entire path where this project is being located. After providing all these details, just click the finish button. And inside this, I am just creating a main method, public static void main. The argument is passed as a string array. String of space args, and inside this I am just creating a num array. Say for example, I am just creating a number array. It is of the size 5. And num array of 0. So I am just initializing this number array. I am storing some 5 numbers. Say for example, num array of 1 equal to 20, and num array of 2. So I have to provide the corresponding index location, and at the corresponding index location I need to store some values. And number array of 3 equal to, so I am just giving the value as 40. So I am just initializing this array. How to access this array? So first I have to use the variable name, and within square bracket, so I need to provide the corresponding index. For, so I am just giving here int I equal to 0. So I am just giving here as num array dot length I plus plus. So I am just going to iterate through this number array. So I am going to pick each and every element present in this number array, and this will be displayed at my output. So firstly I am going for a for loop. I am just initializing this control variable int I equal to 0, and then I am checking for some condition I less than num array dot length. So till the length of an array I am just iterating through this array, and I plus plus. And inside this I am printing something at the output. System.print out.println. So I am just printing each and every element present in my array. So I am just iterating through this. Say for example, I am picking each and every element present at the corresponding index, and this will be displayed at my output. After typing this code, just click the right click this file, and there is an option called run file option. You can see here, so what are all the elements that are stored in my number array? This will be displayed at my output. So I am storing some 5 elements at the corresponding indices. At the 0th index, the value 10 is being stored. At the first index, the value 20 is being stored. So whenever I want to access the elements at the corresponding index, within square bracket I need to provide the corresponding indices, index locations. Clear with this example? Similarly, if I want to store some floating point numbers, so I have to give the corresponding data type. For example, I want to store some employee records. So you can go for the string data type. So accordingly, you can store some employee records or patient records or student records. I want to store some student names. Till this part, whatever I am speaking, everything is clear. So I just gave an introduction to arrays. If you are interested, you can go to Pantech e-learning and you can register for Java Full Stack Masterclass Program, JFSMC. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the project files, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. Once you attend this masterclass for 25 days, you will be receiving a free webinar certificate, and the internship users, they will be receiving an internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. Alright, if you are interested, you can go to Pantech e-learning and you can register for Java Full Stack Masterclass Program, JFSMC. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the project files, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. Once you attend this masterclass for 25 days, you will be receiving a free webinar certificate, and the internship users, they will be receiving an internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. Alright. So let me just give you some more examples of this. So I just gave an introduction to arrays concept. So what do you mean by arrays? So in case of arrays, I can go for a single dimensional array or I can go for a multi-dimensional array. There are two different types of arrays present in Java language. I can go for a single dimensional array or I can go for a multi-dimensional array. So what do you mean by this multi-dimensional array? So instead of a single dimension, it can have more than one dimension. Say for example, I want to store in the form of a matrix kind of a thing, rows and columns kind of a thing. So I can go for this multi-dimensional array. From the term, you can just understand what do you mean by a single dimensional array and what do you mean by a multi-dimensional array. Whenever I want to create any new class, so I have to use the class keyword followed by the name of the class, prepended by the corresponding access modifier. And inside this, I am just creating a main method, public static void main. The argument is passed as a string array, string of space args. And I am just initializing this number array. It is of integer data type num array of. So I am using two square brackets, the row dimension and the column dimension. And within this curly brace, I am storing some 9 elements inside this array. This is the corresponding syntax for initializing this two-dimensional array. So for example, whenever I want to represent a matrix kind of a thing, rows and columns, so I can go for this multi-dimensional array. The first dimension, so this is the corresponding syntax for initializing a multi-dimensional array. The first dimension denotes the row dimension and the second dimension denotes the column dimension. And then I am going for this for loop for int I equal to 0, and then I am checking for some condition I less than 3 and I plus plus. So firstly I am checking for the row matrix, row dimension, and coming here in j equal to 0, j less than 3 and then j plus plus. So I am picking at the 0th row what is the 0th element, at the 0th row what is the first element, second element. So from this number array, so I am just picking these two elements, I and jth element, and this will be printed at the output. Clear with this? So I am just closing this inner for loop and the outer for loop, and I am closing so the main method and the corresponding class here. Clear? So this is a simple example of a multi-dimensional array. So whenever I want to denote my numbers in the form of rows and columns, so matrix or an array kind of a thing, so it is having more than one dimension, I can go for this multi-dimensional array. I will just show you a simple implementation example of this. Just right click this package. There is an option called new option. I am going to create a new class. So for example, I am just giving the class name as multi-array example2, and then I am going to click the finish button. And inside this I am creating a main method. Public static void main. The argument is passed as a string array, string of space args, and then I am initializing this number array. So it is having more than one dimension. So I am storing some 9 elements inside this array. So I am storing some 9 elements inside this array. Clear? So I need to give the corresponding syntax, and I am just going to iterate through this. For int I equal to 0, I less than 3, and then I plus plus. And I am going for one more for loop. In j equal to 0, j less than 3, and j plus plus. So after this I am just coming inside system.out.print. So from this number array, so I am just picking I and jth value, and this will be printed at the output. Just give this semicolon. Alright. So after doing this, so if I want to leave out some space, you can give out like this. System.out.println. So firstly I am just closing the inner for loop, and if I want I can just close this outer for loop as well. Clear with this? So this is a simple example of a multi-dimensional array. So whenever I want to represent in the form of rows and columns, I can go for this multi-dimensional array. So based on my requirement, I can go for a single dimensional array, or I can go for a multi-dimensional array. So you can see here it is represented in the form of rows and columns. This is the corresponding syntax for initializing the multi-dimensional array. So I am giving the corresponding data type. Whatever is the name of my variable, it is having two dimensions. The first dimension is the row dimension, and the second dimension is the column dimension. Just take down this exercise. Find the error in the following code. Just take down this exercise. Find the error in the following code. Have you taken down? Just take down this exercise. Find the error in the following code. Have you taken down? So I am coming for the final topic. Next I am going to discuss with you about methods. So what is the use of methods in Java? So what do you mean by a method? So I am coming to the final topic, last topic of my day. So what is the use of methods in Java? So a method is nothing but a set of statements. It is used to perform some specific task. So that is the main use of this methods in Java. For example, this is the name of the method. So this is the corresponding syntax for creating a method. So I have to give the corresponding access modifier, the return type, and the name of the method. So I am just creating a method called addition method. It is going to take in two parameters. It is of integer data type. So firstly, this is my operand 1 and operand 2, and then I am initializing the sum variable. Say for example, this is of integer data type. So it is nothing but a collection of statements, a set of statements. Say for example, in a corporate company, I want to calculate the net pay of an employee or the total bill amount. For example, in an e-commerce industry, you can just imagine. So what is the use of this kind of methods in Java? In an e-commerce industry, say for example, I am just creating some method. So public void. So whatever return type, so I have to mention the corresponding access modifier. Say for example, this is the corresponding access modifier and the return type. I am mentioning the return type and whatever is the name of the method. So I have to give the corresponding method name. For example, I am giving whatever is the bill amount or whatever you can call total purchase. I am creating a method called purchase amount or bill amount, whatever you can call. So it is taking the corresponding arguments. So I can pass in some arguments to my method and it is going to perform some sort of operation. Say for example, I am going to calculate based on the products that is being purchased. So what is the total bill amount? It is going to return the total bill amount. So whenever I am going to call this function or user defined method, it is going to perform some operation and it is going to return some value. Clear? So this is called as a method. So why we have to go for this methods concept in Java? So whenever I am building some bigger applications, in order to reduce the code size, the methods can be written only once and they can be reused anywhere in the program. So it results in the reduction of code size. So modular programming. So whenever you go for any kind of programming language, so what is the main aim of all these programming languages? You have to reduce the code size. With optimal code, you have to achieve the maximum result. So this is the corresponding syntax for creating the method. So I have to use the corresponding return type and the method name, whatever is the name of the method, and I am passing some parameter list. I need to prepend with the corresponding access modifier. So whenever I am going to call this addition method, it is going to take in two operands. It is going to add two operands and it is going to return the sum of two operands. So there are two different types of methods. One is called as a predefined method and one more is called as a user defined method. So this is a simple example of a predefined method. For example, inside my math module, so I am having a square root function. So I can call this inbuilt method called square root. It is going to compute the square root of this number and this will be returned at the output. So instead of a predefined method, so I can go for a user defined methods. Methods which are defined manually by the user. It is called as a user defined method. Clear with this? Let me just show you a simple example of this user defined methods. Whenever you want to create any new Java class, just right click this package and there is an option called new option. I am going to create a new Java class. I am just creating a method called division1. I mean class called division1. So whatever is the class name, so I have to give the corresponding class name. And then I am clicking the finish button. And inside this, so I am just giving the corresponding class name. So whatever is the class name, I am just giving the corresponding class name. I am just initializing this class name. Just click the save button and right click. There is an option called run file option. You can see here, this is the corresponding syntax for creating a user defined method. So I have to give the corresponding return type I am creating a method called div method and I am passing these two parameters, int a and then int b. So a is divided by b, it is stored in the variable c. Clear? So I am giving two parameters, number 1 and number 2. I am creating an instance of this class, division1 equal to d1, and using this I am just calling this div method. These two parameters are given as inputs to this div method. So this is the corresponding syntax for defining a user defined method. I have to give the corresponding return type, the name of the method, and I am passing these two parameters as argument to this div method. With this, I am just stopping today. If you have any doubts, you can just ask me. I hope I am clear with my topics. Today I gave an introduction to switch and case statement, what is the use of ternary operators, and then I started with the basic concepts. So what is the use of arrays and methods in Java? If you are interested, you can go to Pantech e-learning and you can register for Java Full Stack Masterclass program, JFSMC. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the project files, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. Once you attend this masterclass for 25 days, you will be receiving a free webinar certificate, and the internship users, they will be receiving an internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. Alright, if you are interested, you can go to Pantech e-learning and you can register for Java Full Stack Masterclass program, JFSMC. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the project files, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. Once you attend this masterclass for 25 days, you will be receiving a free webinar certificate, and the internship users, they will be receiving an internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. Any doubts? Yes, thank you. Happy Teachers Day. Thank you. Difference between predefined method and user defined method. So methods, there are some inbuilt methods in Java. Say for example, I have some square root function, max function. So all these are called as predefined methods. Whereas user defined methods, the methods which are defined manually by the user, they are called as user defined methods. You want me to run the switch code? Yes, I will just run the switch code. So this is my switch and case statement. Just right click. I am clicking the run file option. Any more doubts? Thank you all. You want me to explain about ternary operators? Yes, I will just explain about ternary operators. So based on some condition within a statement, if I want to check for some condition. So basically I am just checking this condition, number is greater than 5. So if this condition is satisfied, question mark, statement 1 will be executed, colon, otherwise the else block will be executed, statement 2 will be executed. Alright then, remaining things we will see tomorrow, same time, same link. Thank you all.